Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to this lovely, beautiful channel that is currently called Skitsland. My name is Skits, and today, as you are judging by the title of this YouTube video, we are going to be talking about this character right here, the story's protagonist, Monkey D. Luffy, right? And what you and Monkey D. Luffy have in common. And you might be surprised that you and Luffy have many more things in common than just one thing. And in this video, I'm going to give you 6 reasons or 6 things that you and Monkey D. Luffy, the protagonist of One Piece, share. All right? I have my notes here, and I also have my distinct cup of coffee. So I might be taking regular sips. Let me take one now. And anyways, all right. So, what do you and Luffy have in common? Number 1. This is kind of a simple thing, but many people overlook. You know, you and Luffy are main characters, right? So Luffy is the main character in One Piece, and you are the main character in your own life and in your own story. And that is maybe a little bit redundant, but it is very significant, and you will see why. So number 2, all right, and this is also something, this reason number 2 that I'm going to say is something that you can find. It's not only exclusive in One Piece, it is something that is kind of secondhand in many battle shonen. You could argue this happens in Naruto as well. But number 2, you have an ambition, or you have a dream that you want or desire above all things, all right? In One Piece and Luffy's case, Luffy wants to be the pirate king above all things, right? And post time skip, I think after they set sail from the land of Wano to go to Egghead, you are also revealed that Luffy has a dream that right now we don't know what it consists of. There are certain theories, but nothing yet written in stone. And you as a human being, the same as I as a human being, we all have desires, or we all have a dream that we want above all things in life, all right? And it got me thinking, you know, sidetrack, I am going through heartbreak, you know. It's not the most pleasant emotion. It's not the most pleasant state of mind to be in, because you are certainly feeling and experiencing life at a perspective of loss, right, and pain. And it kind of got me thinking that sometimes as you age and as you get older in life, you might start giving up on the things that you wanted for so long. Let's say maybe you wanted to be a singer, or a person, a hypothetical person, wanted to be a singer for so long, and he tried, and he didn't make it. And you know, he got at a certain point and he said, well, you know, what would happen if I let my dream die? And if I just, you know, give in? What are you giving into exactly? It could be to conformity. It could be to the idea or the notion or the belief that you are never going to be able to succeed or realize this dream. And you stop trying at this moment, you know, and you basically conform to live your life a certain way that is conflicting against you realizing that dream. There's a character in this short novel called The Alchemist, written by Paulo Coelho, that describes what this character looks like. He is a tea merchant at the top of a hill who has the dream of going to Mecca and visiting it, but he never wants to do that because he is afraid of what would happen to him if he would realize his dream, right? And I don't think that is the case of us in this world, you know? I don't think many people are, you know, stuck there. It's like, you know, what would happen if I become the greatest soccer player or the greatest rock star or the best astronaut or the best doctor? Like, what happens to my life after I've realized this? I don't think most of us are afraid to realize our dreams, but there is the story of people give up on their dreams. And as a One Piece fan, and hopefully you are also a One Piece fan, and if you aren't, well, I would invite you to watch and consume One Piece because it's such a beautiful story. As a One Piece fan and as a Luffy fan, I just want to tell you that don't give up. Don't give up on your dreams. It's probably one of the things that defines us the most, and it is one of the things that gives us the most joy when we are looking for and actively working towards realizing that dream. So if it takes a complete stranger, in this case me, to tell you to keep going, or keep trying and keep striving, keep dreaming, then I'm happy to be that person for you. Because I think a great part of justifying or, you know, answering the question of why it is, you know, why are we alive? And one of the reasons why we are alive is because we have certain things that we want to do. And certain of these things we want to do above all things in compared to, you know, things that you would just desire very weakly or normally. There is one thing in life that you want so much that you are supposed to. You are supposed to try. You are supposed to go in this path and realize that. So keep going, keep trying, and keep dreaming. It is very, very important. Now, number 3, your life takes place in great part in the equivalent of One Piece's Grand Line, right? So how could I define what the Grand Line is for me and you, right? It's basically everything or every place that A, transcends your hometown or the place that you were brought up in, and 2, anywhere that you could consider is a comfort zone, all right? And perhaps in the perspective of Luffy, the Grand Line is a place of adventure or fun. And, you know, I think Luffy is very much comfortable everywhere, except on like a prison cell or something. But even Luffy at one point has to go to a prison to save his brother. And you're not analyzing or looking at things as if, am I uncomfortable? Is Luffy uncomfortable in a prison and impaled down? No, I think Luffy is a very happy-and-go-lucky dude. But the thing is, for Luffy to realize his dream and fulfill his ambition of becoming the Pirate King, he's certainly not going to do it from the town he was born on East Blue. Like, he has to go beyond his hometown, beyond the place where, you know, your home is kind of like a comfort zone. Like, these walls in this room is kind of the place where I work and the place where I operate. Life doesn't actually happen here. I might work here and I might do a lot of things here, but I am truly more alive when I leave this door and step outside to the great and world beyond. So that is also something that you have to do. You know, you're not going to fulfill your dream if, let's say, your dream is to become a soccer player or a soccer player that plays in a European club, let's say Real Madrid or let's say Barcelona. You're gonna have to go and run a lot, and you're going to have to play a lot of soccer, and you're not gonna play soccer in your room, or you're not gonna run in your room either. You're gonna have to venture to the outside world and escape the domain of your comfort zone. And Luffy has to do that. Luffy does that all the time. And so do you. And so do I. So that's pretty cool, huh? Now, number 4, and probably one of the reasons why One Piece is such a powerful story, or such a endearing story, is because Luffy needs friends, and so do we, and so do you. All right, Luffy cannot realize his dream or his ambition of being the Pirate King alone, right? There need to be other people in the mix of this very complex puzzle. And certainly, you know, there is this idea and this notion that the more that you age, the older you get, the wiser you get. You could argue that the less dependent of people you become. And if you are a person who has been through a lot psychologically and emotionally, and you are kind of a victim to a lot of people's suffering, you know, people in your life have wounded you, and you are kind of this cliche of a person that you have less and less faith in your kin, in people, in other human beings just like you. That is kind of sad, you know, because I don't think there's anything wrong with choosing or wanting to lead a very solitary life or to be alone. But that certainly didn't used to be the case when we were younger, right? And maybe that also isn't the case for you right now. You don't want to be alone most of the time. Or when I say most of the time, it's like in your psyche. You want to be surrounded by good people. You want to be surrounded by good friends. And, you know, your dream, the things that you need to execute, in great part can't be executed alone. Say you want to have a factory that makes ice. Well, now that I'm thinking about it, like artificial intelligence and AGI, the more this develops, maybe you can have a factory of robots and you're like the manager and blah, blah. But no, hell no. Let's not think about that. So if you want to build an ice factory, you're going to need people to make the ice, to market the ice, to ship the ice, to do everything. So a company, you know, needs people and not robots. And you could argue that the Straw Hats are like a company of individuals that are working towards a number of goals, because Luffy respects the dreams and the ambitions of his crewmates, right? There's a guy who wants to be the greatest swordsman. There's a guy who wants to go to the All Blue. There's a guy who wants to become a brave warrior of the sea. There's a girl who wants to draw a map of the world. And Luffy's out here wanting to be the Pirate King. And, you know, you need people to complement you in life and to accompany you in the adventures that you seek and in the things that you want to do. It's certainly also more, how do you say this word? It's certainly more fulfilling, right? To also celebrate with people the things that you achieve, you know? It is very nice to, you know, let's say you won a swimming competition or you won XYZ competition, you got first place. It's cool that you by yourself, you know, you could celebrate, but isn't it more fun and isn't it a better or a happier scenario to celebrate with the people you love and love you, right? So certainly celebrating achievements, I think universally, is way better when you celebrate them with the people that you love than when you don't. And Luffy is certainly a person who, one, can't operate alone. He needs his friends and he needs a company of individuals to help him figure it out. And Luffy doesn't want to be alone. and neither do I. And I also think neither do you. Do you guys remember when Ace dies and he's mourning Ace in the Isle of Women? And basically Jinbei has to knock some sense into Luffy. There's a point where they're physically struggling and fighting, like Luffy's kind of in this, madness, in this agony that he cannot escape. He's like replaying the execution over and over again. He's seeing Akainu kill him, and he's replaying Ace dying in his arms, and he can't just accept that fact. And he's basically going berserk. What does Jinbei tell him? Jinbei tells him, hey, you're forgetting about something else. What is it that you're forgetting about? And what is maybe the answer that quenches your despair? And then Luffy starts remembering his friends, and he starts listing them like one by one as he's crying tears. And that is a very powerful and emotional moment. That is a very beautiful moment in One Piece. And I do think, that we want not to be in that position, mourning and naming our friends one by one. But we certainly want to be Luffy, or we want to be a Straw Hat. Why? Because Straw Hats, they're not alone. When you open your eyes and you're a Straw Hat, or when you open your eyes and you're Monkey D. Luffy, you're in a very nice boat and you're sailing with 10 other people who you could consider family. So I think that in great part is the story of, my story, your story, everybody's story. And that's something that certainly you and Luffy have in common. Now, number 5. Now, this is a little bit surprising. This is one of the things that I thought while I was making like the notes or the brainstorm of this video. So, number 5, what do you and Luffy have in common is that Luffy is a god. And you have God within. Now, you can approach this from a religious makeup, but I don't necessarily want to give it exclusively a religious connotation, but more so spiritual, right? If you do not believe in God, then believe in the universe, and you can replace the word God with the word universe, right? So one way or another, for one reason, we are all here. And you can define that by just simply saying or stating that your parents decided to have sex, or they had sex at one point in time, and your mother got pregnant, and 9 months later you basically plop out of her uterus or her belly, and you are alive, right? But have you ever wondered why? Is there a deeper reason? Is there a more profound reason than just by a product of human biology, of one male and one female, joining and sexually reproducing? I think there is a greater and a more profound story that could explain, and it transcends words. Now I'm realizing how kind of struggling I am, or how insignificant it is for me to just convey or explain this with words alone, because this is something more important. But basically, before you were alive, this world already existed, and the universal makeup, right? There were mountains, there were stars, there were animals, there were other people, there were other stories. And you could argue that you came from somewhere, right? That your soul or your your spirit, a human being is physical, right? We have a body, but we are also spiritual beings. We have something that transcends the body, and you can call that a soul. And maybe you believe that your soul already existed before. It was somewhere. Where? I don't exactly know. But basically, the universe or God took your soul and put it in a body, and now you are experiencing life, right? And at the very least, in the Christian philosophy or religion, Christians very much believe that you have God within you and that you are a children of God or a child of God. I'm not here necessarily to discuss religion or to convince you to believe or to not believe in a God. That's not my job. And I think I need to say this. I respect whatever religious creed or spiritual creed you believe in. I'm not here to discuss or go over your faith or go against it, sorry. But in One Piece, Luffy, you find out that the warrior of liberation is also the sun god Nika, right? So in this story, in One Piece, Luffy embodies the role of a god who will eventually free or invite the world to partake in a revolution that will change the entire fabric of how the world works, right? And I'm just here to tell you that you might not be the sun god, right? Or the moon god or the god of the ocean, but you have the architect of this life, of this universe, and people call him God. I can call him God. I call him God too. You have him within you. And some people don't realize that, you know? And certainly, Luffy is a god, and you have a god. You have the God, the universe, the maker of all things within you. Isn't that cool? That's crazy, no? Absolutely. And reason number 6, what is the last thing that you and Monkey D. Luffy, the protagonist of One Piece, have in common? You might be asking. Well, it's something that, again, it could be, you know, approached at from a very simple perspective. But, you know, some people forget. I sometimes forget this. But number 6 is that life is supposed to be an adventure, a quest. And you, the same way that you are the protagonist of your own story, you are the captain in your own life. You have the ability at a certain point in time, you know, for most of us, it's probably when you are considered legally independent, you know, 18 plus, 21 plus. But some people, you know, have a different story, and at a younger age, they have to make decisions, important decisions to survive and to live on. And you forget this, you know, I forget that I am in control of what happens in my life. I could decide whether I want to sleep all day, or I could decide whether I want to look for money. I could decide whether I remain single all my life and not choose to have a partner, or I could choose to go out there and look for a woman to, you know, become my girlfriend or eventually marry. So you are very powerful. Like Luffy is powerful in being a captain. And he basically has to decide, well, not most of the time. I think it's Nami doing the bulk of the decisions. But Luffy is the captain. And the maximum authority in the Straw Hats is him. So if Luffy were to say, hey, I don't want to go to this island, I actually want to go to that island, they're going to have to follow Luffy. Why? Because he is the captain. Just the same way you are your own captain and you decide where you take your life. So people forget, and I forget, just how powerful we can be and how powerful the decisions that we think of taking or actually make and take. We sometimes don't give enough credit as to how much we can do with what we decide to do. So when you're looking at captains in the One Piece world, and it's not only Luffy, you could look at a guy like Shanks, like Law, like Whitebeard, like Roger, all right, the Pirate King. But we're talking about Luffy, right? And what you and Luffy have in common? Well, you are a captain too, just the same way Luffy is a captain. So, yeah, these are 6 things that you and Monkey D. Luffy, the protagonist of One Piece, have in common. And maybe you had certain things kind of figured out before this video started, but maybe you learned a thing or two. And I hope you enjoyed this YouTube video. I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day. And hopefully I will see you in the next YouTube video. Boom!